welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something really crucial, the federal laws built to fight fraud.
Yeah, specifically when it involves things like false identities, fake documents, or, misleading claims made to the government.
Exactly. We're kind of peeling back the curtain on how the government protects itself and ultimately us. Our sources for this are pretty interesting. We have parts of a legal primer, something written for lawyers.
Hmm.
It gives a good look at the actual laws used when a client's identity might be fake or their claims just aren't true. It's like a map of the government's anti-fraud tools.
Right. And our goal today really is to unpack these specific laws. We want to understand what they cover, how wide their reach is, and why they're so important.
It's more than just money, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, protecting taxpayer funds is vital, but it's also about the basic integrity of how the government works. The key thing is that fraud against the U.S. isn't just about financial loss. It's about trust in the whole system.
Okay, so let's start there. The U.S. government has built this really strong set of laws to shield itself from deception, like a legal immune system.
That's a good way to put it.
But what exactly counts as fraud against the United States? Is it just stealing money?
That's the perfect place to start because the view from the Department of Justice, the DOJ, is actually really broad.
Yeah.
It's not just about, directly cheating the government out of cash.
Okay.
A scheme to defraud the U.S. can be anything from that direct cheating to just using the government in a, let's say, wrongful way.
So even if no money is lost.
Yes. The source material makes a point of saying any injury to the integrity of the government is sufficient.
Can you give an example of that, like a non-financial injury?
Sure. Imagine a contractor submits false paperwork about their qualifications for a project.
Mm.
Maybe the project doesn't lose money directly, but they misrepresented who they are or what they can do.
Mm.
That undermines the whole bidding process, right?
Yeah.
It makes it harder for honest companies and erodes the government's trust in future submissions. That's seen as fraud because it hurts the system's integrity.
That broad definition really sets the stage. So how do they tackle something as basic as identity? What about, fake IDs and that sort of thing?
Well, there's a key law here. Title 18, Section 1028. That's in the U.S. Code where federal laws are kept. Section 1028 is about fraud and related activity in connection with identification documents.
Okay, what does it cover specifically?
It covers quite a bit. Knowingly transferring stolen or unlawfully made ID documents, selling fake IDs basically.
Right.
It also makes it illegal to knowingly possess identification documents, ones that weren't legally issued for you if your plan is to defraud the U.S.
So using a fake document for what?
Well, the examples given are things like submitting it to a workers' comp board that gets federal funds, or maybe using one for Medicaid reimbursement. That could violate this section.
So it's the use with intent, not just having it.
Precisely. And it goes further. It also bans knowingly transferring, possessing, or using someone else's identification, their means of identification, without permission, especially if you're doing it to help commit another crime.
Like what kind of crime?
It could be any federal crime or even a state felony, like mail fraud or wire fraud. And importantly, this section also covers attempt and conspiracy.
Meaning you don't even have to succeed.
Exactly. Just trying or planning it with others can be enough to trigger this law.
That's a pretty wide net for identity stuff. And does that link up with Title 18, Section 1002, the one about possessing false papers?
It does, yeah. While 10 to 28 focuses on the ID documents themselves, Section 1002 is a bit broader. It addresses knowingly having any false, altered, or forged document.
Any kind of document?
Any writing or document? Yes.
Mm.
If the intent is to defraud the U.S. or one of its agencies, particularly if the goal is to help someone else get money from the government.
And does that integrity idea come up again?
It does. The DOJ notes for this statute explicitly mention protecting the integrity of the government. So again, it reinforces that it's not just about the dollars and cents, but about keeping the government's records and processes clean.
Okay, that paints a clear picture for documents and ID. Let's widen the view a bit. What about just making false statements in general? And then maybe we can get into conspiracy.
Absolutely. For general false statements, the big one is Title 18, Section 1001. And this law is incredibly broad.
How broad?
It covers any matter within the jurisdiction of the executive, legislative, or judicial branch. So dealing with the IRS, Congress, federal courts, it applies across the board.
Wow. And what actions does it forbid?
Basically three things. 1, knowingly and willfully falsifying or hiding a key fact. 2, making any statement that's materially false, fictitious, or fraudulent. Or 3, making or using any false document knowing it's got false info.
So like lying on a federal form, or even
Or even just lying to a federal agent, yeah.
yeah.
The example given is if you lied to an FBI agent during an investigation, that could fall under 1001.
So it's not just about paperwork, it's about verbal statements too. Lying to an agent corrupts their investigation, even if no form is involved.
Precisely. Courts see this statute as protecting the government from the perversion which might result from the deceptive practices described. In simpler terms, the government worries about people messing up how it works by feeding it bad information.
That makes sense. It's about protecting the accuracy of everything the government relies on.
Exactly right. It's foundational.
Okay, that's a massive law.
Yeah.
How does this connect to people working together to deceive the government? That brings us to Title 18, Section 371. Conspiracy, right?
Yes. Section 371 is the General Federal Conspiracy Statute. It's how prosecutors often go after groups involved in fraud.
What are the basics of it?
Pretty straightforward, actually. You need two or more people who agree or conspire to do one of two things: either commit any crime against the U.S. or specifically to defraud the U.S. or any of its agencies.
And is agreement enough?
No, there's one more element. At least one of those people has to take some overt act, some step, even a small one, to actually move the plan forward.
Okay. And how is defraud the United States interpreted here? Is it just about money again?
No, it's broader here, too. It generally covers three kinds of scenarios. One, where they cheat the government out of money or property. Two, where they interfere with or obstruct legitimate government activities.
Ah, obstructing.
Right. Or three, where they make wrongful use of some government function or tool.
Can you give an example of that obstruction part?
Yeah, the source mentions a case, United States v. Hopkins. Individuals basically disguised political donations. They weren't stealing from the government.
But they were hiding something from it.
Exactly. Their actions were meant to get around the Federal Election Commission's reporting rules. That was seen as fraud on the agency because it messed with its job of ensuring transparency.
Interesting. So it disrupted the agency's function.
Precisely. And another example is just conducting fraud related to any program run by a federal agency. Cases like Gallup and Conover showed this counts as fraud under 371.
And the penalties for conspiracy?
Can be pretty serious, fines, or up to 5 years in prison. Though, if the underlying crime they conspired to commit was just a misdemeanor, the penalties are lower.
Okay, that gives us a good handle on the core laws, like false statements and conspiracy. Let's shift gears slightly and look at how these ideas apply in more specific, high-stakes areas, like healthcare fraud.
Oh yeah, healthcare fraud is a huge focus. There's a specific law for it. Title 18, Section 1347.
What does that target?
It goes after schemes aimed at defrauding any health care benefit program, think Medicare, Medicaid, private insurance sometimes, or schemes to get money or property from these programs using false pretenses.
So bogus billing, things like that?
Exactly. Anything related to the delivery of or payment for health care benefits, items, or services.
Yeah.
And the penalties here, they're severe.
How severe?
They increase significantly. If the fraud results in serious bodily injury, that could mean up to 20 years. And if it results in death, it could even be life imprisonment.
Wow, that's intense.
And there's a critical legal point here, too. The law states that a person doesn't need actual knowledge of this section or specific intent to commit a violation of this section.
Meaning,
You don't necessarily have to know this specific law exists or even specifically intend to defraud, say, Medicare itself. If your actions meet the definition of the crime, like setting up a scheme that results in fraudulent billing, you could still be liable. The focus is on the fraudulent act and its connection to a healthcare program.
that's a really low bar for intent regarding this specific law. Shows how seriously they take protecting these programs.
Okay, moving from healthcare. What about really large-scale fraud, like millions of dollars in government contracts or aid?
For that, we look at Title 18, Section 131, major fraud against the United States.
Major fraud. Sounds serious. Is there a dollar threshold? There is, and it's high. This law kicks in when the value of the government grant, contract, loan, or other assistance involved is $1 million or more.
$1 million. Okay, so they're targeting the big fish here.
Definitely. It covers schemes to defraud the U.S. or get money property by false pretenses in pretty much any kind of large federal assistance.
Like what kind of programs?
Well, it specifically mentions things like the Troubled Asset Relief Program, TARP, economic stimulus plans, government rescues, or even the government buying troubled assets. It also hits prime contractors and subcontractors in federal procurement if the value is over that $1 million mark.
And the consequences for major fraud.
They're substantial, as you'd expect. fines up to $1 million, prison time up to 10 years, and it has a longer statute of limitations to 7 years.
Okay. $1 million minimum, big penalties. They're clearly not messing around there. Let's wrap up our look at specific statutes with something super common: Social Security numbers. Is there specific fraud related to those?
Yes, absolutely. This falls under Title 42 of the U.S. Code, which deals with public health and welfare. Specifically, Section 408 lays out penalties related to Social Security.
What kind of actions does Section 408 prohibit?
It really zeroes in on misusing Social Security numbers, or SSNs. It forbids anyone who willfully, knowingly, and with intent to deceive, uses an SSN based on false information, or falsely claims a number is a valid SSN when it isn't.
And what's the purpose behind these actions that makes it illegal?
The law lists several purposes. Things like trying to get higher payments under Social Security or any other federally funded program, or trying to cause a payment to be made when it shouldn't be.
So directly getting money you're not entitled to.
Right. Or, more broadly, obtaining any payment or benefit for yourself or someone else that you're not entitled to. It even includes using a fake or misused SSN just for the purpose of obtaining anything of value from any person.
Anything of value. That seems very broad.
It is. It suggests that even if you're not directly defrauding a government payment program, misusing an SSN to gain some other advantage could still fall under this law. And, like many of the others, this section also includes conspiracy.
Okay. We've covered a lot of ground here, from fake IDs to lying to agents, conspiracy, healthcare, major contracts, Social Security. So bringing it all together, what's the main thing you, our listener, should take away from this deep dive?
I think the key takeaway is just seeing the sheer depth and breadth of the legal tools the U.S. government has created to fight fraud and deception, especially when it comes to identity and making sure federal programs run honestly.
It's a complex system.
It's definitely a complex legal landscape, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's all been built piece by piece, really meticulously, to protect public money and, maybe just as importantly, public trust in how the government operates. From those really broad laws about lying down to very specific ones for healthcare or SSNs, it's a full arsenal.
It certainly seems like a very proactive and layered defense against deception.
Right. And when you think about the fact that our source material is essentially a guide for lawyers expecting to encounter potentially fraudulent situations, it tells you something.
What does it tell you?
Well, it suggests this isn't a rare problem.
Mhm.
The level of detail in these laws, the constant effort to define and prohibit specific types of deception, it points to an ongoing, serious battle to maintain integrity. So maybe the final thought for you is this: given all the effort poured into creating and enforcing laws this precise, what does that reveal about the fundamental challenge of ensuring trust in a really complex modern society?